And this is an example of how you might want to use a colour system. So I've used yellow to highlight informal language and blue to highlight grammatical issues. So whichever system of colours you use, obviously one or two colours keeps it simple, and try and keep whatever comments you're making as clear as possible. So you can't quite make it out here, but I like to use examples where I can. So if a student's used particular language in their response, I like to rework what they've done or give them some questions to consider to prompt them along with maybe adding to that for next time. So here this student has talked about the audience and said that it's aimed at readers of The Guardian because that was where the opinion piece was published. And they've said that it's a heavy topic. So I've asked them to elaborate on what they mean by heavy topic. And then they've said that some readers might agree that a change needs to be made, whereas others will maybe deny that a change needs to be made. So I've asked them to connect that back to something we gave them to look at around the readership of The Guardian and the fact that they're quite often progressive. And I've said, okay, think about a progressive person's politics and whether they are more likely to support the need for some sort of change around this issue, or whether they're more likely to want to stick with the status quo. So that's my prompt to try and get them to be a bit more specific and precise with how the intended audience may respond to that particular issue as well. One other really important principle here with this feedback is avoiding intimidating students with the quantity of comments. So I would try and limit it so that if I really wanted to, I could mark up a piece of work and have, tens of comments down the side of the screen in review mode, but I'd probably stick to 3 or 4 on a page points there, and I try and frame those as questions as much as possible or thinking prompts. And then I'll provide a summary at the end, which I'll show you in a minute, that sums up some of those key patterns that I'm seeing in their work. So I'm not really commenting on every individual spelling mistake or every grammatical error. If there's, like I said before, if there's a common grammatical error I'm noticing in their work and I want to show them what they're doing wrong and give them some information about that, I'll probably do that separately. So I might put in a link to an online resource in their summary comments, or I might give them an example of how to fix their error and maybe rework what they've written to show them the correct way to write it. But generally, I don't write lots and lots of small comments about all those small things, because the page will just look very cluttered and intimidating, but also overwhelming for students. So I think that's a really key point with feedback.